Welcome back, class, for the second unit, which will be all about the dimensions of the reality that we experience. The reason I picked this unit to do next, after learning a little bit about the star races within our collective experience, is to help you understand what it means to be living or operating from the lower or higher dimensions, as often it is talked about with those of a negative conscience versus more positive conscience and intentions towards humanity. In this unit, we will go through all the dimensions I can be in touch with to physically describe them to you, and what happens on each and how life may seem to you on that dimension. Dimensions can be described in a mathematical way by saying that they are a measurement of something in a particular direction, especially its height, length, or width. The word can also be used to describe the range over which or the degree to which something extends, such as the vast dimensions of space. The third definition is what we will be looking at closely throughout this unit, because it is the dimension that affects you most in terms of the way you perceive your reality. And that is the level of existence or consciousness dimension that you exist on at any given time in space. Consciousness dimensions are connected to the mathematical or physical definition of dimensions, which determines through sacred geometry what level of consciousness you exist on. Sacred geometry plays a part in dimensions because as more dimensions are incorporated into a shape, the more complex it becomes. Souls are represented like this too. The more dimensions incorporated into your awareness, the more complex you become or realize you have always been. That is the secret of sacred geometry. You are the sacred geometry shape, and as you evolve in the physical realm, your sacred geometry of the soul will evolve and become a shape with more dimensions. An example is going from a straight line to a cube. Represents you growing as a soul, going from one point in time to another, till you become so complex with lines and angles internally that you extend far across the entire space. Your soul has the power to extend itself and open up to a vastly complex shape that is as big as the universe itself. Consciousness dimensions exist in the abstract realm of thought. We cannot recognize them as a whole physical place with our eyes, but we can experience the qualities of them, and it lets us know which dimension we are living in. Dimensions must be lived on and experienced to know you are on one. This is how they exist in space without any particular latitude or longitude to get there. They simply open up in one fabric of space and lead to another as the event of opening occurs. One of the most wonderful spiritual tools mankind was given at a very early age was the chakra system by the original Vega star race group, who were seen as devas by the early Indians who took them for beautiful gods and goddesses when they were truly older aspects of humans themselves. This system spread far and wide as a teaching tool to understand the mind, body, and soul connection. Later, colors became correlated to them as science discovered that each color had a unique wavelength, with red representing the lowest chakra center in the body, the root, and violet representing the highest, the crown or top of head. Each color represents a specific dimension of space since it correlates to the frequency and vibration of the color, which then became a visual tool to help understand the levels of consciousness experienced. Let me just remind you of two important terms here when speaking about dimensions in the following lessons: vibration and frequency. The definition of vibration is a periodic motion of the particles of an elastic body or medium in alternately opposite directions from the position of equilibrium when that equilibrium has been disturbed. Right now, take your finger and wave it in front of your eyes. Can you see your finger vibrating as it moves from one point to the next in space from the starting point, which is called the equilibrium? More accurately than your finger even, you can take a string and hold it tight, and if you pluck that string, it vibrates up and down, now being disturbed by your movement. Note that in order for it to vibrate, it must be moved or it simply stays at its equilibrium point at rest. Now let's talk about frequency. The frequency is the number of times that something occurs in a given event. Its physics definition that connects to your finger you just waved is the number of cycles or completed alternations per unit time of a wave or oscillation, meaning how many times your finger was able to complete a cycle of going up and down in that given time you allowed. To say something has a higher frequency is to say it has faster occurrences of events or cycles completed within the range of time. To say something has faster vibrations is to include frequency within that definition as well. The shorter a wave is, the faster frequencies it has because it is easier to get to the point of equilibrium from point A to B. It takes a quicker amount of time to complete a cycle. The longer the wave of your finger, for example, you can see it has a slower frequency of cycles of events that occur because it takes longer to get back to the point of equilibrium or where it started from at first. In essence, think like this. The slower vibration of an entity will take longer for a cycle to complete and get back to its state of rest. The higher vibration of an entity will take quicker and complete more cycles, coming back to rest faster. We will get more into application of dimensions to entities in later lessons though, but I wanted you to start to connect your soul experience with dimensions. Take your finger and wave it in front of you as slow as possible, and you are representing a slow vibration and longer frequency wave. Now speed up that finger in front of your eyes and vibrate it as fast as you can. It takes more energy from your body to produce a faster and shorter wavelength than the slower and longer one, which uses less energy input. On the light spectrum, there are colors we cannot see, and the shortest and highest frequency wavelength is called ultraviolet rays, and the longest and lowest frequency wavelength is called infrared rays. This pertains to the spirit world and what we consider to be angels and demons in our collective. They are essentially ultraviolet and infrared energies that vibrate beyond our capabilities to see, but they represent different aspects of the light and sound spectrum we can understand, though, through the study of light and sound. The more physically dense an energy is, the lower the energy and the slower its vibrations have to appear in the material world. The more physically light an energy is, known as a light body, the less it appears in the material world and cannot be seen as easily with the five senses. In order for a soul to be in the physical realm on Earth, it has to lower its vibrations to become more dense. This is important to understand of how you got here to Earth as a divine spark of prime source. To be born on Earth, you have to slow your vibrations down, but when ready to transcend the physical world and leave, then your vibrations need to speed back up again. Depending on what rate your personal frequency and vibrations are within your body, determines the reality that you experience in front of you. Everything in your field of experience has to vibrate at or close to your own vibration in order to appear real before you. If it is higher than your own, you will not see it. If it is lower than your own, it will not be noticed by you. When you are vibrating at a higher energy rate with faster frequency and shorter vibrations, you physically take in more of the universe and energies unseen normally into your senses, and are operating from the higher self with your intuition engaged. When you are moving with lower energy, with lower vibrations, then your senses will take in less of the big picture truth around you, and you will only experience your personal subjective five senses, which the ego does not always incorporate the collective truth of the universe, focused on itself. This is what it means to be stuck in hellish dimensions vibrating at lower energy. The rate of the beautiful and spiritual truth occurring in your life is less frequent, and you will experience only that voice of the ego responding to a seemingly limited human world. Hell is right here. When people get stuck in the lower dimensions of consciousness, they become dependent on material vices to get through this life. They become addicted to drugs, physical pain, and physical pleasure in order to give them a quick high. They are searching for the higher vibrations within them, but they are searching outside of themselves for it, and so it will not come to them until they pull themselves up out of the lower dimensions of reality by actually incorporating higher vibrations within. On the other hand, when you are vibrating so highly in terms of shorter waves and faster occurring frequencies of events occurring in your life, this means there are more spiritual truths you can experience daily, which correlate to you getting in touch with your true self, the higher, less dense self that exists outside of the material world, embedded already in the higher dimensions. The heavenly realms are those that exist at the highest state of vibration that puts you on a higher dimension of reality to experience. Within those realms, the physical laws become not as solid, and all possibilities of your imagination and dreams come true, such as flying without any kind of vehicle. Because molecules can rearrange themselves as you imagine with your heart's desire, and anything that you imagine can become your reality. And every soul's heart desire is to experience their own version of joy and happiness in totality. So that is the highest levels of existence you can live within as your reality. And that is what angels flying and fairies flying actually truly represent. The loss of the physical laws of space by entering into the immaterial spiritual dimensions where all things can be possible. It is true. What the religious texts have hinted at, heaven is a place where anything you dream of can happen to you and for your joy. But heaven is not a specific place. It is a vibration and a frequency you exist within. So it can be experienced right here on Earth as you personally operate daily life from higher dimensions and faster vibrations. It is how many of the Pleiadians live out, as well as the other star races too. And I am determined to help you and remind myself while here on Earth how to get to those states of dimensions of consciousness and stay there. The next following lessons will be going through dimension 0 and all the way through 12. I am going to take you through and show you what occurs on each and what life is like on each one, because each of you have been on the lower dimensions to get here to Earth. Even though Earth is not the highest dimension by any means, it is not the lowest by far. But in order to get back into those higher dimensions you originally reside in, you must move up in accordance to what you learn and grow with while on Earth, and also learn how to keep those high vibrations. It is one of the sacred laws of the universe that makes it possible for any soul to achieve bliss and happiness with hard work to remain aware of your higher self while in the physical realm of Earth, and, of course, on other planets. With the tools of being able to walk up the ladder of consciousness within yourself, you can move past many of the worldly pain and suffering you can fall easily into here. The ultimate goal is to be able to live on a third-dimensional Earth and bring the higher dimensions into your reality so that Earth as a collective moves into the higher dimensions of experience that equal faster vibrations and more frequency of the spiritual truth radiating throughout it. The following exercises will begin your journey of the dimensions of reality within you. I suggest writing your answers down in a journal so you can refer to them in the future, or just listen to them and think deeply. Number 1. Everyone has some prior knowledge of dimensions within them. What do you personally know about dimensions, and what would you like to learn more about them? Take a moment to write some ideas down. Number 2, right now, just by a hunch of what you know about yourself and how you operate daily, what dimension do you think you operate life from? Allow yourself the ability to see you have gone up in dimensions as you have gone through life, and also back down. You don't necessarily stay on the same dimension of consciousness within your lifetime, but it's important to be aware of yourself and catch yourself when you are moving up or when you are going back down. Just right now, observe yourself of how you are living right now in the last few days maybe, and just kind of see where you are. Take some time, and when you're ready, move on. Number 3, take a moment to notice your internal rhythm. Are you vibrating high right now, feeling good and spiritually centered? Or are you feeling lower vibrations within yourself that bring you feelings of depression and generally feeling down on life? Do not judge yourself where you are right now. Certain events affect our vibrations, and that is completely normal. The goal is to have those life events occur and not affect your internal vibrations. And it starts with awareness of where you are right now in life. Awareness is key because with sudden awareness, you can move your focus towards how you really want to experience your life. Number 4. It is hard to see the solid world in front of us in constant vibration and motion, but it is. Everything vibrates and has its own frequency. Animals, plants, and even inanimate objects that do not seem like they move, such as your phone, has a certain vibration its molecules all move at in order to appear in our world as physical objects. Just take a look right now at the room you are in and train your mind to see all objects as vibrating at different times and speeds, but still relatively low enough to appear in front of you. Try to go outside and look at nature around you and notice all of the vibrations there. Number 5. It is important to see how heaven and hell are states of consciousness that can be lived here on Earth. Divide your paper into half. Put hell and heaven on each side. Look into your own events and just be able to be aware of the lowest times of your life and the highest. Awareness is the goal here. No judgment is needed from you. Just look at your life like a story and write down a few notes in your journal of when you experience the lower vibrations within yourself and when you experience the higher ones. Hopefully you have more higher vibe times than lower ones, but with the lower ones, I want you to look at them as all a learning experience you have to go through to get to the place you are right now. Well, this completes the intro to the dimensions of reality. So I will see you all later for lesson 1.